everyone. Today we are making, well, start that over. Today I am making a rhubarb bread pudding. This is a recipe that is from the Edible Santa Barbara spring issue, and the recipe is one that I was inspired to come up with because I was thinking about 1940s cooking, my 1941 Joy of Cooking cookbook, and I had rhubarb in my garden. One thing led to another, and I found this recipe for rhubarb bread pudding in the Joy of Cooking, and I had to tweak it. So let's get started. First thing is rhubarb. So I cut some rhubarb from my rhubarb plant this morning out of my garden. The rhubarb is looking a little, it's being eaten by slugs or snails or something. But that's okay because you discard the leaves. You don't want to use the leaves. They're toxic when you're growing rhubarb. You just want the stems. And they don't have to be red. I've learned that rhubarb can be green, some varieties, or if it's grown in the shade, it might be a little bit on the green side. So anyway, you just want to trim off those leaves, clean your stalks, and then just dice them up a little bit. I'm doing kind of just chopping up the stem, and I have a bunch here that I have already done. And you want about 2 cups. So I'm going to throw these in here, and that should bring me up to 2 cups. It's not exact. This is, rough estimates. So that is my rhubarb. I'm going to go ahead and just put it in here in a nice big bowl. You could actually put this right in your cooking dish because a lot of times I do that when I have my larger dish. I just put everything in there, mix it all up, and it's great. But I'm going to use a slightly smaller one, and I don't think I have room to toss everything with this one, so I'm going to do this. The next thing I'm going to add is some ginger. So I have some candied ginger. This is definitely my addition. The Joy of Cooking did not have candied ginger. You just want to chop it up kind of small like this. So you want to take the candied ginger and just sprinkle that into the rhubarb, along with sugar. Now, I had a little crisis this morning. I did not have granulated sugar, so I did have superfine sugar, and apparently you can substitute them 1-to-1. I'm going to pop that right in, and then I'm going to grab a spoon, and we're going to mix this together. The sugar is going to kind of coat. You can see that there if you want to zoom in on that. And then I like to add some lemon. So I have these tiny little lemons from my tree. I'm going to zest a couple of these. I would use 1 large lemon, but in the case of these little miniature lemons, you can use 2 lemons if you want. Just get a little zest in there. I think lemon and rhubarb go really well together. And ginger. I mean, who doesn't love ginger? So the next thing we want to do, get all that zest in there, is add the juice of these lemons. These are pretty juicy lemons. Doesn't hurt to have a little extra lemon. Now, I really want to mix all this together. The lemon juice is going to kind of dissolve the sugar. It's going to make this slurry of rhubarb pieces. I mean, it looks kind of green, but it's going to taste delicious. Rhubarb is a vegetable that we treat like a fruit, so kind of crazy. Next thing we're going to do is get the bread in there. So I have this beautiful pan-de-mie bread from Bob's Bakery, which is our local bakery. And this is a fresh loaf that I just picked up today of the pan-de-mie. But I'm actually going to use some day-old bread, well, more than a day-old bread, that I trimmed the crusts off because they were getting a little hard, but the inside is beautiful. And it's just a little firmer than the fresh. You don't want to use fresh bread because this is really a way to use up something that's no longer at its prime. Bread puddings are a thrifty way of using day-old bread. So we're going to just cube this up. And you can do these smaller, larger, doesn't really matter. You're going to need a couple cups. I think I have a little bit here that I'll dump in. I might have more than 2 cups here. The more tender your bread, the more it will kind of cook down. So if you have a really firm bread, you're going to use a little bit less of the bread. And if you have a really tender pan-de-mie or brioche or something, you're going to want to use maybe a little bit more. All right, one more thing we're gonna add is half a teaspoon of salt. Sprinkle that in there. Oop, we gotta run away. They like to jump out of the bowl. It's looking well combined and it's jumping out of the bowl like crazy. So it's time to get the liquid ingredients in here. So I have 1 egg and I have a cup of milk. Let me just grab a little fork here. You kind of want to break up your egg a little bit and just whisk it. Now again, this, you could have plopped this in your dish first and then poured all this in. But because my dish is not very big, I'm going to combine it in this bowl and then put it in the dish. Now get all that milk and egg into the bread. Let it kind of soak in a little bit. Here's what it looks like if you want to get a little close up there. You got that. This is about the time you want to preheat your oven to 375. So in the time that it takes to preheat the oven, this can just hang out and sit. It's actually going to soften and, you know, just kind of get ready for the oven. Oh, it looks kind of crazy, but it's going to be delicious. I am using this kind of ceramic or porcelain baker. You could use something that's wider and have more surface area if you wanted to, or you could use like a traditional casserole dish. You could use whatever you have that fits the amount. And you can also adjust the quantities to fit your dish. And I'm just pouring it right in. I think it's gonna fit perfectly. Get every last little bit in there. Oh yeah, see, that's perfect for this dish. I think after you make this recipe a few times, you kind of get to know the size of your dish and the quantities and how much bread and how much rhubarb you have. Now, the last thing you want to do before this goes in the oven is just dot it with some butter. So just 1 to 2 tablespoons. This is going to melt in and just give it that nice crisp, buttery deliciousness. Now, the other thing you can do, if you want to add a little extra, is sprinkle some coarse sugar on the top. But in this case, I am just going to leave it like this, and I'm going to pop it in the oven. Okay, it has been about 45 minutes, so I am going to take it out of the oven. Oh, nice. You can see that it is just browning slightly, getting golden brown, and the filling is set. You can actually, if you really want to test it, you can take a knife and just insert a knife to make sure that it's, yeah, this is perfect. You want to let this just cool a little bit before serving, but I'm gonna see if I can't serve up a little bit. Let's dish some of this up. Ooh, it is still really warm. I would recommend letting it sit for a little while before you serve it, but it is best served warm. Absolutely, you want it, you know, comforting and warm. Okay. I'm gonna try a bite here. It's got some rhubarb, got some ginger in there. Oh my gosh, it looks still really hot. I can smell the rhubarb. It's such a distinctive flavor and scent. I love it. Oh my God. This is so good. The ginger and the rhubarb are really meant for each other in this dish. It is absolutely delicious. I do hope you'll try this. Again, it's from the spring issue. We'll leave all the links to the recipe in the description below. And thank you so much. Enjoy.